Coming up on this edition of the Mashup, the Ketchum Indians were on a warpath with New Rochelle. Arlington rambles past Ramapo. Morge gets divine intervention to shut down a very game Putnam Valley team. And Solmers sums up Poughkeepsie.
It wasn't a fair fight.
We've got the spikes, the hikes, and the saves between the pipes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's
Unbelievable.
It's
Phenomenal.
Did you know tonight's show was going to be this good?
I did.
The Mashup is next. Hi everybody, welcome to the Monday Mashup. I'm Charlie Carnaccio, glad you could join us. Plenty of action to get to from the past weekend, some surprises and some great games that will go down in history. Let's take a look. The Admirals were loaded up and ready to go, and they wasted no time. Brandon Tobin rolls out, connects with Jason Harand, and look at him go, breaking 2 tackles before being brought down inside the 15-yard line. They push Ramapo off the line just enough for Tobin to sneak in, and Arlington is on the board with a 7-0 lead. A 14-6 win for Arlington, and the right way to start off as the Admirals reap the benefits of what they've been working so hard for in the offseason. It started off as a great night for Poughkeepsie football. A new field, John Castellano's debut as the new coach, and there was plenty to smile about. And plenty to cheer about. In the opening drive for Poughkeepsie, the Pioneers marched down the field, picking up some rugged yardage and punching it into the end zone for the first score of the new season. Kerry Nicholson breaks the plane. The extra point was missed, so Poughkeepsie led 6-0. On the ensuing kickoff, Matt Morgante received the ball and took it 75 yards. Morgante raced down the field untouched. Tim Cousins rolls out, shoots one over the middle to Josh Rieger. 27-6, the final.
I thought the kickoff return was one of the backbreakers we had. We've only been together for 3 weeks. I mean, I've brought an entire new offense in, basically a new defense, all special teams. I mean, the whole system is new.
A non-league season opener for Millbrook and Spackenkill. At the 11-yard line, Davon Jackson takes it around the left side, untouched into the end zone. We have the first of many scores for the Blazers. Still a minute to go in the first, and Daly barrels in for the second score of the game on the third quarter. A costly turnover all but puts this one away. Davon Jackson with the ups and then takes it down, 90 yards the other way. Millbrook was in a blaze of glory with a shutout over the Spartans of Spackenkill.
Happy with the effort, very happy with the effort, not real happy with the execution, the turnovers. You know, we had 4 turnovers, we had 5 or 6 all of last year.
We're proud of the kids tonight.
20-0 went to 20-20 in a hurry in between the end of the second quarter into the third. What were you telling the kids at that point?
Well, we're just telling them to hang in there, and we're trying to make adjustments.
20-0, we were really happy, but as they came back, we kept our composure. We didn't lose track of anything. We came out in the second half, played 4 quarters. We did a great job.
Questions on both sides of the ball would be answered in this one. Is the 2013 New Rochelle team as strong and threatening as the team that won the state title a year ago? Are the Ketchum Indians stronger this year than any other? Kevin Duke hits Roddy Tierney on a quick flare, and the Indians are on the board. In the second, Duke, once again going to the air, lays out a perfect lead for Victor Hernandez. Fourth quarter, Duke with the option to Morgenstern. A 17-yard TD run, 22-14 the final.
I don't know, I've never felt like this before. This is absolutely crazy. Beating #1 team in New York State.
You know, this is huge. This is something, even if you're not a student of high school football, you know that New Rochelle came here today, and us winning means something really important to this program.
The Highland Huskies girls soccer team debuted in a tough defensive battle with O'Neill Wednesday. Highland in the home white, second half action, the Huskies up 1-0, but O'Neill is pressing. Credit Kara Beneke in goal. She was tough all day long. Highland wins its season opener 1-0. Shannon Ward scored the lone goal minutes into the second half.
We got the first win, and we hope to continue to build throughout the season and to keep working on things in practice and hopefully continue winning.
The season opener for high school volleyball, and two powerhouses go head-to-head right off the bat. Arlington visiting John Jay. Jay in the near court and looking in mid-season form right from the opening serve. The Hallie Dewey-Megan Tyler tandem was working, and so was the sister act of Maddie and Chelsea Barbarin. Patriots sweep Arlington 25-12, 25-9, 25-18. Plenty of action from the weekend. It kind of just tells you that fall season is definitely here. It kicks off with a bang over this past weekend. I'm now joined with Rich Tomaselli and Joe Lombardi. We're going to talk about some of the activity from this past weekend and then look forward to a few key games for the upcoming weekend. And let's just start with some of the activity that you saw as you were out and about this past weekend. A lot of surprises.
I saw a couple of great football games. I saw Our Lady of Lourdes on Friday night in a terrific game. Boy, Putnam Valley really gave Lourdes all it could handle. Lourdes jumped out to a 20-0 lead. Putt Valley came all the way back and tied it, and it just became just a fabulous game. And Dean Roger, 313 yards passing for Lourdes, terrific. And then I saw Millbrook on Saturday against Spackenkill, and let me tell you, I picked that game to be something like 34-31, you know, but I didn't realize how young Spackenkill was. Going to be a great team. Clinton D'Souza is a great coach. But boy, Millbrook won 38-0, and they look awesome.
Is that what happened with Spackenkill, that they were young?
I think they're inexperienced. You know, Billy Winnis is a great kid, a terrific all-state pitcher, making his debut at quarterback. So, you know, I think there were some issues, you know, with the line. You know, look, I mean, Millbrook under Sean Keenan has been a terrific program the last 4 or 5 years. They, you know, have a great community in which the Pop Warner or the youth football program is running exactly what the high school is running. Yeah. So they, you know, so they bring that. It sure does. So it's, you know, really that was. And the funny thing was, 38-0 is not only sounds impressive, it looked impressive, but after the game, Sean was like, you know, they had 4 turnovers and we only had 6 total last year. You know, so you know, it's coach stuff, which is fine, but you know, 38-0 is 38-0. They looked impressive.
I don't know why more Pop Warner programs don't follow what the school's doing, so that they're both in line, and when the kids get up to that school level, then they're already used to the system.
Yeah, well, you know, I'll tell you a funny story, too. You know, I went to Sean, you know, full disclosure, Sean and I played high school football together at Lourdes. We've been friends for 30 years.
No, you play football?
Yeah, I did. And, you know, my son wants to play football. My 8-year-old. So
joke coming in.
Yeah, no joke. I mean, you know, he's 8 and he's, you know, he's strong. He's built. He's not fat like me. He's you know, he's thick. You know, but I talked to Sean about it. I'm like, you know, hey, when should I get him involved and that sort of thing? And Sean told me, unless you can gauge whether or not the coaches are committed. And there's nothing against volunteer coaches. The volunteers are amazing and everything, but he found that you have to reteach everything by the time they get to that high school level. So, you know, you wonder about, you know, they all should link up, the high schools and the youth programs.
Absolutely, makes sense. Yeah. Joe, Yorktown and Walter Panis.
Yeah, I tell you, we talked last week about the fact that the Yorktown Huskers really needed to win this game coming off this season and the disappointment of just narrowly missing the playoffs. They came out, did that, pulling away and winning 21-7 over Walter Panis. But, of course, when you look at this past week, the big news, of course, I think transformational wins for both the Ketchum and John Jay East Fishkill programs. That, we previewed the games last week, but I don't think if we had given predictions at the time, many of us would have gone out and actually predicted mostly John Jay to beat North Rockland. That might have surprised me even more than Ketchum beating New Rochelle. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see where those two programs go from here with the short week. And it's a challenge when you have 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids coming off the biggest win in school history, maybe for both programs, and now to play a game on Thursday that they, on paper, should win, both these teams.
Right, yeah. Coming down from that high, I was at the Ketchum game.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I mean, they looked like the real deal. It was amazing. You know, we did kind of predict that it was going to be an upset.
A close game, yeah.
Yeah, a close game. But the fact that...
picked them on the site.
Yeah, right.
Because the upset special.
But that the defense was, in the first half, there was nothing that New Rochelle could do. Nothing that they could do. It was almost like years ago when I used to be on the sidelines and I used to cover the games, it was like what every Westchester team did to a Dutchess County team, Ketchum did to New Rochelle.
Well, that's probably the biggest storyline, I think, coming out of the weekend is that Dutchess County football just really shined over Friday and Saturday. You had Lourdes opening up defense of its sectional title, winning. You had John Jay, you had Ketchum, you had Millbrook, you had FDR football, who I picked to lose, went to Port Jervis, which is a very, very difficult place to play, and just blew away Port Jervis, shut them out, 28-0. So it really was just a fabulous weekend for Dutchess County football.
Sounds like a great fall to start a website really focusing on sports in Dutchess County. Oh, well, here we go.
Yeah. Somebody should think of that idea.
Perfect timing.
All right, soccer. Let's talk a little bit about soccer this past weekend.
I actually saw a great game on Saturday prior to the Spakenkill Millbrook football game. I went over to Spakenkill. They were hosting the first annual Steve Cox Memorial Tournament. Even though Spakenkill was the host, it was Lourdes and New Paltz in the title game. And New Paltz is coming off a sectional championship in Section 9, and Lourdes came out and bang, bang, bang. They scored 4 goals in the first half and ended up with a 6-0 win. So Lourdes looks good. Arlington girls went up to Syracuse, won. Beat Cicero North, and then came back and played a 1-1 tie with Baldwinsville, so they're off to a great start. Soccer in this area is just absolutely incredible. You think about last year, all the sectional champions that we had, and of course a state champion in Arlington boys, who haven't even talked about yet. I don't even think they've played a game yet. I think they've scrimmaged Middletown, but wow. Between football now and soccer, and John Jay volleyball even looked.
That surprised me. I was at that game. John Jay.
It surprised Maria Greenwood from Arlington too.
Oh, but it was amazing. The same thing. John Jay. It was like they were mid-season form, and Arlington. It seemed to me as though they were just really kind of getting their legs, getting their feel, out of position a little bit. They just didn't have a rhythm going. And volleyball could be a game of momentum and runs, you know. But there wasn't many runs for Arlington, which is very uncharacteristic of that program.
Yeah, and kudos to John Jay because they came out and played a fabulous match. I watched all the highlights that you took, and look, if we're going to have another power, those two schools are going to go at it.
They've got the tools to do that because they've got good height and athleticism up front, and they've got great libero, and they've got the servers are great. I mean, they were working, just everything was working perfectly. Their coach could not be happier. All right, let's talk about this coming week and some of the big games that we have coming up. And let's start, Joe. What do you think is one of the bigger games that we should look at?
Well, I'd like to get your guys' thoughts on Ketchum and John Jay coming off the huge wins that we talked about. I prefaced it a little bit saying they're playing games they probably both should win. Carmel for John Jay, East Fishkill, and Scarsdale for Ketchum. Short week, as we mentioned. Is there a chance that these teams will stub their toe and get upset? What do you guys think for either one of these games? I don't think so. I think that both these programs are well coached. I think the Carmel John Jay East Fishkill game has a better chance of being, if you want to call it, an upset. But if you look at the Carmel John Jay East Fishkill rivalry through the years, Carmel has a pretty big advantage with a very solid coaching staff at Carmel led by Todd Kay. But I think this is a type of game a coach like Todd, coming off a tough 1-point loss to Mamaroneck, can really get his team to say, guys, I don't care who we're playing. If we lose, we start off 0-2. But now, if we go out and we win, we have a chance to beat this team that's coming off one of the biggest wins, if not the biggest win in school history, John Jay, having beaten North Rockland.
The X factor is you're dealing with high school kids.
Yeah, that's a big X
and
factor.
So I think, initially, and I asked Pat Keevens just that. Yeah. You got to figure, when the schedule came out, let's say June, Ketchum kids were thinking New Rochelle, New Rochelle, New Rochelle, New Rochelle. Every day, every night, sleeping, eating, drinking New Rochelle. Now that game's over. And now, how do you focus on Scarsdale? They might trip a little bit, going in. Plus, I think they're on the road. So that, that could play a little factor. But when you got a quarterback like Kevin Duke, who can really run that offense, and if the defense holds the way they've been holding, I think they've got some great confidence now walking into that. They have the toolkit that they never had before. All the different tools are in that kit, and they just bring that kit to wherever they go and set it up, and I think Ketchum's going to have a strong year. So that's what I think about as far as being able to come back after such a great win and a big high.
Yep, I think defense will rule the day. Scarsdale's not as strong as it used to be. I think Mayaback manhandled Scarsdale. It was a 28-0. So I think Ketchum should be just fine. The best thing about those two coaches, about Tom O'Hara and Pat Keevens, is that look, they're going to give. They probably did give the kids that 48-hour window to go and enjoy. But once they come back to practice on Monday, that's it. The focus is on Thursday, and it's a short week, it's a short turnaround, and they can worry about injuries and things like that on the long break after this game.
Ketchum beats New Rochelle, you think to yourself, that's going to be all over Twitter, Facebook, headlines, and everything, and then all of a sudden, John Jay comes and beats North Raleigh. I get the sense that it's the Yankees and the Mets between John Jay, East Fishkill, and Ketchum trying to steal headlines. They both had great days.
Well, I don't know who tweeted this out, but it was interesting that once the scores had come out, it had to be down at John Jay since their game went overtime. It was a little longer. They were asking those kids about, well, what do you think about Ketchum beating New Rochelle? And they all were great. They were very respectful. No trashing each other. These kids see each other every day. And they said, look, maybe this is the year where the John Jay Ketchum game really has some meaning.
October 19th, mark your calendars. Another game to mention, Poughkeepsie. We talk about the success of John Jay and Ketchum. Poughkeepsie, meanwhile, with the specter of possibly starting the year 0-2, with all the success it has had in the last few years. Obviously, a lot of changes there with John Castellano taking over. Playing at Sleepy Hollow, a Sleepy Hollow team that was in the sectional final last year, lost to Somers, has one of the top quarterbacks in Section 1 in Devin Lopez. This is going to be a tough game for the Pioneers. I think going in, Sleepy Hollow is a slight favorite.
Well, I don't disagree with you at all, seeing that game against Poughkeepsie and Somers. Of course, Poughkeepsie's playing Somers. But when you have a coach who comes in and he only has 3 weeks to work with a team, what can you expect from them? The question is, will the kids believe that they can be better? Or will they resign themselves to the fact that we used to win, and now this isn't fun anymore?
Well, that's the whole thing. I was talking about it. There were a ton of coaches out in force on Friday night at the Lord's game. I mean, everybody was there. Spackenkill kids were there. Ketchum kids were there. Jay kids were there. Millbrook kids. And, I saw a lot of coaches, and that was the one thing that they said. They hope that John is able to hold the team. You talk about in the pro ranks about managers who lose the locker room. With kids, it's a different story. And you got to hope that after all the success they had and sectional championship and championship game appearances and playoff appearances, that 0-2, you've got to make sure that everybody's on the same page. But you're right, Charlie. Listen, they talk about high school football being a year-round sport now, getting in the weight room in December and 7-on-7s and quarterback camps and whatnot. Poughkeepsie didn't have a lot of that. They had a lot of turmoil in June and July, and really, John Castellano is only working on 3 weeks of work.
Big game for you coming up this week. What do you think?
I think all the teams that got off to such a big start are going to be under the spotlight. We talk about Ketchum, we talk about Jay, we talk about Lourdes and teams like that. I'd like to see how Pine Plains bounces back. They went on the road after the tragedy of the accident in which two kids were killed and 2 were injured. They had a tough game at Ellenville, losing 34-14. Had to go on the road, and in that instance, and I'm not saying this to be a smart aleck, they really went on the road. I mean, Pine Plains is up in the northwest of or northeast of Dutchess County. Ellenville is way out. That's a long trip. And, it was a tough game. But they've got their home opener, and I, sure would like to see them, really kind of bounce back and see what they can do.
All right, so those are pretty much a few games that we want to look at.
Yeah.
There's so many great matchups that are coming your way, and you can catch all the action here between the articles and the video. We're hoping that you're enjoying the site. If you have any comments, suggestions, please tweet us or email us. Let us know exactly what you want to see, because that's exactly why we're here. So there's the chime. That means our time is up, and we'll see you next time here on MashUp.